Welcome everybody, welcome back. So real quick, anytime I teach a webinar or class, you guys know I'm big on disclosures, disclaimers, and things like that. I think this keeps us safe, this keeps us grounded. Real estate is a risky business, and that's why we invest our most valuable asset, which is our time, on learning how to do these things the right way. Last week, we talked a lot about building your team, your power team. We talked about leveraging credibility of your real estate attorney, your real estate agents, leveraging the credibility of your contractors, and the importance of putting all of those people, licensed business professionals, on your team. It's just going to make the conversations that much more easy, right? When you're talking to lenders about, how you do business, it'd be nice if you had your team already lined up, wouldn't it? Right? And if you're a lender on this call and you're trying to underwrite and examine the operator that you're going to be lending to, you should probably be asking about that team, right? And who the contractor is that's going to be making the repairs. Who's the real estate attorney that's going to be handling the closings, or escrow company, right? So get all of this done before we start, right? And so here we go. All right, awesome. So what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Private Money Club. It is week 2. I cannot wait. We're building momentum here. This is really exciting. If you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. If you're back, type it in the chat. Say, I'm back. Who's back? Who's back for the second time, right? Type it in the chat. If you're 2 for 2, I'd love to see that. 2 for 2. Here we go. For those of you who are new to the webinar and you want to know, hey, who are you learning from? My name's Noah Harris. I'm a real estate investor out of Columbia, South Carolina. Many of you may recognize me from the Accelerator Coaching Program through Private Money Club, or from the Money Tank events. I have a 100% track record with my private money lenders, and my goal for each and every one of you is to do the same. I hope by tuning in week after week and staying plugged in and continuing to educate yourself and really understand the fundamentals and the best practices of whether you're borrowing or lending, that one day we run into each other and you say, Noah, I attended the first Quick Start webinar, I attended the second Quick Start webinar way back in the day, and what I want to know, if that interaction ever takes place, is what's your track record, right? Did you take what you learned from me and did you apply it in the sense that you borrowed money and you paid back your lender successfully, or as a lender you lent your money and you got it back successfully? That's time to accomplish here. I love it. 2 for 2, 2 for 2, 2 for 2. Welcome back. I love to see that. Guys, private money lending is relationship based. Okay. Some will make the argument that this is asset-based lending. You care about the value of the asset, and there's some truth to that, right? What makes private money lending so great? You can lend money here. It's secured by an asset that's worth this much, right? That's what makes it beautiful. But the truth of the matter is, this is relationship based more than anything, right? We're going to make sure the assets we're lending on are good, that the underwriting's good and all of that stuff. But it's all about creating those win-win opportunities. It's nice to be able to pick up a phone and talk to a person. I think that's what makes private money lending so special. Remember this, guys. If you want to be great at borrowing money, then you got to place a high value on your lenders, right? On that relationship. And if you want to be great at lending money, we're going to do the same. We're going to place a high value on our favorite borrowers, right? So I'm excited to coach here today. This is something that we do Thursday, 1 p.m., right? So I hope to see you next week as well. There was a lot of pressure. Last week, this email went out saying that I was teaching a class and it was going to be a revolution, right? No pressure, Noah. You're just going to start the Private Money Club revolution. All right. And then there was another one that came out. It was talking about, what was it? Making history. Last week. I hope we did that. Yesterday, I got an email. Did you guys get this email? Yeah, no pressure, Noah. No pressure. It's just going to be an extravaganza. And, are you ready for the real estate ride? Hopefully we can deliver today on the real estate ride of your life. I hope that my wife is on the Private Money Club email list so that she knows how awesome and special I am. Not that she needs a reminder, right? So happy Valentine's Day to everybody as well. All right, let's go. here's the game plan. So every single session that we do, number one, we're going to start on time. Number two, we're going to keep it real estate. So we're going to talk about real estate deals. So if you're on this call and you're like, hey, Noah, my goal is to find private money lenders so that I can buy a house to fix it up, sell it, rental properties, short-term rentals, mid-term rentals. I want to do real estate, small multifamily type of, you're in the right place. If your goal as a lender to learn how to make nice rates of return and have your money secured by an asset that's worth more than the amount that you've got in the deal, you're in the right place. We're going to work on that stuff too. All right. We're going to keep it real estate. Participation is encouraged. You guys are doing a phenomenal job of that already. So thank you for that. If you're just logging in, we're at 69 and climbing. If you're just logging in, make sure your chat box works. So here's what you're going to do. If you are a borrower, type borrower in the chat. What's up, Michelle? If you are a lender, type lender in the chat. And if you're both, I've got a lot of people who do both, type both in the chat. Let's working with here. Lender, 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 both. I love it. What's up, Neil Bacon in the house? Okay. Borrower, borrower, lender, 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 both. I meet a lot of people who they will borrow funds, right, to do their fix and flips, but then they'll also lend with like their retirement accounts, with their self-directed IRAs and things like that, which is super cool. All right. I love it. Borrower, borrower, lender. All right. Thanks, guys. You guys are doing awesome. Fantastic. The Private Money Club team is in the chat as well. So if you have any questions about anything that I cover, I might say something and say, hey, look, this would be a really cool opportunity. You guys should check it out. The team will put the link in the chat. So Jose, Joel, Shauna, they're there handling all of that. If you have a question, post questions in the Q&A box. Okay, so sometimes as you can see, the chat's just like going nuts. So I miss questions in the chat. But if you post your questions in the questions, then I'll be sure to answer it at the end of the call or as we go. All right. Yeah. What's up, Joel? How's it going, man? All right, cool. And then all experience levels are welcome. So I have just as much love for the person that's here learning how to do this stuff the right way from the get-go, trying to avoid the mistakes. If you're brand new, you're in the right place to learn how to do this the right way from the start, right? And avoiding some of those hurdles and pitfalls and all the stuff that can go wrong with real estate. I got you. Also, on the flip side of that, if you're experienced and you're looking to grow or scale or do, just as much love coming your way as well. Take what we're teaching and doing. If your goal is to do 100 houses this year, great. How much money do we have to raise? It's just a matter of cranking it up, scaling it up, and having more conversations with people, right? So that's the game plan. Here's how we're going to get it done. Here's the problems that we're solving on these calls. Again, every Thursday, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be having these meetings, these weekly webinars. And here's what I found. I'm going to help you with the credibility, right? Noah, who's going to lend to me? I've always used hard money. I've never used private money before. I'm kind of nervous about having conversations with a person as opposed to just a business, right? Don't worry, I got you. Keep plugged in. Clarity, Noah, how does some of this stuff work? Like I know private money is the best thing since sliced bread. You know, what documents do I need? How do I even know if this is a good deal that I'm lending on? We're going to cover that today. Clarity, right? And what I found is if you have the credibility, you have the clarity, then the confidence kind of, it comes naturally, right? When you have those first two, and then you're walking around great, all right? And the big thing I feel like sometimes people struggle with, hopefully not everybody on this call, is the community. You know, where can you go to have these conversations? And that's what's awesome about the Private Money Club, right? So this is a community of borrowers and lenders looking to build relationships, and we understand the value of working together. Lenders understand the need for great borrowers. Borrowers understand the need for great lenders, right? If you're going to be lending money, if you're going to be borrowing money, we got to know where to have these conversations, right? Last week we talked about like if we're going fishing, like what type, you know, where do you drop your line, right? Well, if your goal is to go catch a fish, you're not gonna head to the middle of a cornfield to go fishing, right? You're gonna head to the lake and head to the ocean. Private Money Club is a great place for us to learn, network, and grow together, and this is going to be awesome. All right. So, how are we going to do this? What do these calls look like? And then we're going to dive into fundamentals and this week's lesson. So, I look at this weekly webinar as a workout. out as a practice, right? So if you're learning private money for like the first time, or you're relatively new, you're going to learn a lot on these calls. If you're someone who's experienced in lending or borrowing or in real estate, I'm encouraging you to use this as a place to train, as a place to work out your private money lending, right? So I'm going to give you things to say. I'm going to give you things to do. I'm going to give you assignments. Do them if you want. If you don't, that's okay. But the goal here is to make moves and continue the momentum, all right? So we're going to talk about best practices, fundamentals, and something new each and every week. At the end of the workshop, it's going to be all about making moves. So I give you different things that you can do, and then you just pick one, right? Just pick one. So from last week, this is what I can't wait to see how many people say me, right? So get ready to type in the chat. Get ready to type in the chat, okay? This last week's slide, we talked about fundamentals of the documents that you need. We talked about building your team. We talked about attending next week's call, which is this call, right? So I'm curious, if you were on last week's call and now you're on this week's call, type me in the chat box. Type me in the chat box. I want to see who's doing their homework, okay? If you weren't in Private Money Club, but you are now, type me in the chat box, right? Which one of these moves did you make? If you scheduled a call with Joel or Jose or one of the team members, type me in the chat box. What's up, Kenya? I know a couple of you are taking the accelerator course with me in a few weeks. So if that was you, type me in the chat box, right? You're going to the virtual event. You're going to the Money Tank. This company provides so many awesome opportunities. Oh, Mary, great job on building your team. This company provides so many great opportunities for people to do something, right? And so I'm using this as a platform just to show you all the different things you can do to keep the momentum up, which is awesome, all right? So at the end of today's call, I'm going to give you some assignments. I'm going to give you some things to pick and choose what you want to work on, and it's going to be awesome to help you grow in this business, all right? Awesome. Great job. Congrats. Virtual event, boom. Virtual event, boom. All right, cool. Love it, love it, love it. Great work, great work. All right, cool. So here's the fundamentals. So if you're on the call last week, you're like, no, I saw this slide. Yep, these are the fundamentals. Now here's what I'm going to encourage you to do, because I'm probably going to share these next couple of slides every week for the next few weeks before we go next level. And if you take a step back and just kind of look at what I'm teaching and what I'm explaining to you, this might seem very elementary. Remember the Karate Kid? The movie Karate, Mr. Miyagi had Daniel painting the fences, buffing the cars, and Daniel's son was like, why are we painting these fences? Why are we buffing these cars? Like, teach me some karate. This right here, what Mr. Miyagi was doing to Daniel's son in the Karate Kid is he was building up his muscle, right? The wax on, wax off. So we're building up our private money lending muscles by practicing these things. And in a few weeks, you're going to see that what I'm helping you do is subconsciously know this stuff. Just like you blink your eyes without thinking, you're going to be able to talk about private money lending without thinking too much either, right? It's going to start to come natural. And then we're going to build our elevator pitch. How I teach the elevator pitch in my accelerator course is it's not a 30-second thing. It's not a 30-second, tell me real quick as fast as you can about private money. That's not what it is. It's about going up to the top floor, and each floor is something different to say or introduce. It's a different way of doing things. We don't rush. We don't rush money, right? We take our time. We're calculated. We make sure we're making good decisions, right? So here's the first floor, right? What is a private money loan? Well, this is simply a loan that's secured by real estate. And I taught you the 4 magic words, just like a bank. So if you're out there talking about private money lending as a borrower, or if you're out there talking about private money lending as a lender, just like a bank, just like a bank. I know there's a lot of lenders on the call here, so I'm gonna give you a little extra insight here. One of the assignments that I love to give my students is to go find real estate investors who are doing business right now. If there's a neighborhood where you live or neighborhood next door, if you see a house that's being flipped, you see a dumpster in the driveway, I'd encourage you to go knock on the door, find out who the owner is, and then find out how are they funding their deals. And if they're using their own cash, if they're using hard money lending, why aren't they using private money lending yet? You could be the person that introduces them to you, the private money lender, right? So I'm teaching you how to have these conversations as a borrower and as a lender. And when you put this in the context of just like a bank, the light bulbs start to go off. You mean instead of going to an institution, instead of going to a hard money lender, I can just go to a person? Yep. And just like a bank, you're going to require certain documents if you're the lender. Just like a bank, you're going to provide certain documents if you're a borrower, right? And we're going to talk about what those are. Next floor on the elevator, next floor, moving up, right? We pay anywhere from 8% annualized interest. Each opportunity is unique, right? This is me. This is what I'd say. But if you're the borrower, right, what are your interest rates that you are going to pay? Are you focusing on fix and flip loans, or you're even going to get into that at this point? Let's start figuring this stuff out, right? And you guys, if you'll see me do this and say this probably a million times if you spend every Thursday with me for the next however long Chris lets me do this. But we lend money here. It's secured by an asset up here, and we pay a great amount of interest. And just like a bank, the loan amount is secured, right? The loan amount is secured. So if I could see all your faces, I would say, hey, go like this. We lend here, right? The asset's worth this. We lend here, the asset's this. We lend here, the asset's worth this, right? So these are the fundamentals. These are the fundamentals, and we're going to practice them. Okay? There's a reason why I feel like I'm pretty good at this, is because I say this stuff all the time. Okay? So we're going to be working on this. If you go to an NBA basketball team, if they get in a funk, what do? They go back to practicing the fundamentals, right? They shoot free throws all the time, fundamentals. Nothing fancy about that, but we got to hit them, right? We got to hit them. All right, cool. Here's the document. So if you are a lender, we want these every single time, right? What makes private money lending great? The collateral. But if we don't have the mortgage in place, we don't have anything in paper as far as the interest rates and how we're going to be paid back and all of this stuff, these aren't handshake deals, right? Just like a bank. One of the things that I've found that really helps people understand what's going on and how all of this stuff works is if someone has bought a house before, they've probably signed these documents, right? So if I'm talking to someone and they're interested in putting their money to work, and I introduce private money lending to them, I'm gonna say, hey, real quick, do you own your own home? Yes, I do. No. Okay, great. Remember when you went to the closing and you signed all those documents? It was like this thick, right? Do you remember all that paperwork? Yeah, absolutely. I give you the same thing. So just like a bank would want you to sign that for your mortgage, I'm gonna sign those papers for you. But now you're the bank. And you guys, if you can get that conversation down pat, the light bulbs are going to start to go off and people are going to realize the value with working with you. Okay, so these are non-negotiables, right? Personal guarantee, right? Insurance, just like we're going to list them on the insurance as the loss paid. These are all things that the bank wanted prior to wiring the funds when you bought your house. Okay, so these are the fundamentals. These are the floors. We're going up the elevator. We're going to practice these every single week. All right. Is that cool? Say, oh yeah. You guys practicing this stuff? Take a screenshot, take notes. All right. And I would, if you don't have a pen and paper right now, I'd go ahead and grab one. Go ahead and grab one. All right, cool. Love it, Brandon. Good job. Cool beans. Awesome. Oh yeah. Love it. All right, cool. 85 and climbing. Love it. All right, cool. A couple questions. Let me see. When it comes to questions to you guys, if you have a specific question where it's like, Noah, this is my exact situation, I may hold off on answering it until the very end of the call. Like you can stay on late since it's real specific to you. If it's a question that I think everyone could benefit from, then I'll answer it in the group, right? So everyone can learn from that, right? Shauna says, working on my personal guarantee right now. Love it. Michelle says, practice. Love it. Okay, cool. Here's a good one. Shauna says, hey, what's the smallest amount that's usually borrowed? I'm working on my first buy and hold, but just need to borrow enough for down payment and closing. Shauna, that's up to you. I mean, that's really up to you. I don't think there is a minimum amount. So that's really kind of like what makes sense for you in your business. If it's a down payment amount, in my career, the smallest amount that I've ever borrowed, and this was only because it was a family member, and they kept asking me about it, and one part of it was $10,000. Okay, so that's for me personally, I guess, right? And then here's a good question from Brian. Now that I have my policy 1 month in, I'm just feeding it for the next 2+ years. Can I do anything with it? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Brian. And maybe we talk a little bit afterwards about some different types of opportunities. My wife just got off a webinar where she was teaching people how to buy mobile homes. And, we just bought a mobile home for $6,000, and we could have borrowed the money to do that. That might have been something that someone with a smaller amount could hop on, right? So we can talk about that maybe at the end of the call if you want to learn more about smaller type of investment opportunities, which is cool. Okay. All right, cool. All right, yeah. Yeah, great question. Shauna says, I didn't know if lenders have a certain amount they like to lend. Hey, here's what's cool, Shauna. If I'm the borrower and I'm having conversations with people, guys, what I'm going to say is, hey, what usually happens, I mean, you think about it. If I'm paying someone 12, 13, 14% annualized interest on their money, and they don't have any other way to make that type of interest on their money, wouldn't it make that lender, that person puts as much money to work as possible to make that type of interest, right? So when I'm having these conversations, I'm going to say to folks, hey, look, and maybe I'll teach this next week. I'll teach you the 3 options next week. But I give them 3 options. Robert probably knows what these options are. He's one of my accelerator students. I give him 3 options. I say, Mr. and Mrs. Lender, what happens most of the time is people want to put as much to work as possible because of the high interest that I'm paying them, right? And so they're going to fund the whole thing. They want to put as much as they can if possible, right? And so maybe I'll teach that next week. Thanks for that idea. But yeah, I mean, think about it. Where else can someone make a high double-digit rate of return on their money? So wouldn't it make sense to put as much as they can to work? I think so. All right, cool. You guys ready for this week's lesson? So I feel like we're already learning, networking, and growing, but this is going to be a good one, right? Oh, and then the next elevator floor. Everything that we do is document-wise is prepared and recorded by a licensed professional, right? Real estate attorney, title company, they're going to be handling all of the closings, right? I always recommend that if you're wiring funds as a lender, you wire to the attorney, to the title company first, and then they distribute funds accordingly, all right? So make sure that that's kind of like how, that could be one of your company policies, right? All documents are prepared by a licensed business professional, real estate attorney, title company, whichever you use in your state that conducts the closing. And then what's great about real estate is the collateral. So once you have that mortgage, we're going to record it in the county so that you're on record as have made this loan, right? This is what makes private money lending so good. All right, cool. Let's get into it. I am going to teach you today a really quick formula to figure out if a real estate deal is a good deal or not. Okay, you guys want to learn this? I'm gonna show you back of the napkin in 30 seconds or less. You can figure out if a real estate deal is a good deal or not. Would that be valuable for you as a lender? Yeah, Don's, yeah, be valuable for you as a borrower. So if you're on the call and you're a borrower, and by the way, I'm teaching this because I was really surprised how many people don't know this. Sometimes, I mean, this is pretty basic, but there's a lot of people, if no one's ever taught you, how would you know, right? So we're going to cover this, and this is a good foundation piece that we're going to build on. As a borrower, how much can I offer? If I'm the real estate investor, what makes sense? I want to make sure that I'm going to make money here. Could this be a good deal? And then as a lender, I would recommend doing the same, running the same numbers, using the same formula to be able to figure out, did the real estate investor that I'm lending my money to, did they get a good deal? Is my money safe? I see deals like this all the time. I see them like on Facebook. People come to me like, hey, I think I got a deal, right? You guys see stuff like this before. Hey, I can get this house for 200 and repair costs are 50,000. I'm pretty sure that I can sell it for 300. And in their mind, they're like, this could be $50,000, give or take a little bit, right? Is this a good deal? What do you guys think? Is this a good deal? Type yes or no. Is this a deal that or you're like, I don't know, I need help. What do you guys think? Yes or no? No deal? Deal or no deal? Deal or no deal? What do you think? What do you think? Okay. Rachel wants to know the details. Yeah. Don says, hee, hee. Too many unknown. Depends on the exit. Missing the info. All right, this is going to be, let's just say this is a fix and flip property. Someone's going to fix and flip it. What do you think? What do you think? And the problem is I see deals like this all the time. And if you don't know as a lender, you're like, oh, this might make sense. But we want, as lenders, our real estate investors to do well. We want our real estate investors to be successful in this business. Okay. So I'm going to teach you, and you can kind of check. So after this, here's what I would do. I would log on to Private Money Club, look at the deals that are out there, and take the formula that I'm about to share with you and see what happens. See if you think these deals are good. See if you think that they're too skinny or a bad deal. Put it to work, right? That's going to be one of your action steps when we're done with our call. Okay, so here's the formula, okay? So write this down, take a picture, screenshot, whatever you want to do. This is a formula that as real estate investors, we use every single day, sometimes 100 times a day. Okay, so check this out. Yeah, I love it. Rash says 175 max for this house. Okay, he's getting it. I like it. So here's the formula. We're gonna take what's known as the after repair value of the house. So once a house, what does after repair value mean? Once a property is absolutely beautiful, once the property is all fixed up and it has, the granite countertops, all the new stuff, it's all been updated, what is the value of that house at that point? ARV, right? Everybody got this? Say, oh yeah? You're like, all right, ARV, all fixed up. I got it, after repair value. So you'll see ARV, right? Rachel's mentioned it there, right? ARV. So then what I'm gonna do, I like to multiply my deals by 70%, okay? So we're gonna take the after repair value, we're gonna multiply it by 70%. And then whatever that number is, we are then going to subtract the repair costs. And that number there is gonna give us the maximum amount that I can purchase this property for. Some people say this is like the maximum offer price or maximum allowable offer. There's a lot of different names or acronyms for it, but you don't pay more than that, right? Max, I like to say max purchase price. So we got to make sure that we're not overpaying for properties. And this is the same, these are the same numbers as the other example that I gave you. 200,000, the person thought it would be worth 300. They're buying it for 200. They're putting 50,000 into it, right? And then using this formula, we're coming in at 160, right? Is it a good deal? I don't know. So let's dive into this a little bit more. Does everybody have this like written down, screenshot? You understand this? It's tattooed on your arm. Give me an oh yeah if we can move on from this slide, because we're going to be referring to this formula for the next 15-20 minutes. Okay, all right, cool, got it, love it. All right, cool. So here's what I'm going to invite you to do. If you're experienced like Rachel and some of the other investors that are on this call, a couple things that I'm going to help you with, and some things that I've implemented in my business using this formula. If you're brand new to lending, to real estate, right, I would practice this. I would look at deals that are sent to you. I would look at deals online on realtor.com. I would look at deals in Private Money Club that are posted, and I would run these numbers. If someone on Private Money Club says the after repair value is 300,000 and my estimated repair costs are 60,000, then and I'm buying it for this amount, plug in those numbers and see if this deal makes sense. Right? So practice. This is important for lenders, not just for the investors, not for the borrowers. because lenders, we got to make sure that our investors are making good offers, they're making good deals. This is what's going to help keep your money safe. Okay. I got the table salt there, because if you're a salty real estate veteran like myself, then I'm going to give you some ideas of how you can take this formula and it into your business to help you scale more. So one of the things that I would recommend doing is actually teaching people this formula so that they can bring you more deals. Okay, so for instance, if you work with real estate agents regularly, like I go to networking events all the time, right? Money Tank, I'm doing every single online thing Private Money Club has. I go to a lot of local stuff here. We host events here in Columbia. Most of the time it's like 50% real estate agents that come to our networking events and they want to work with us. I don't have enough time in the week to take agents out to lunch to talk about what our business model is and how it's possible that we can work together, right? So what I do is I actually teach them very quickly this same formula. I say, hey, Mr. Mrs. Real Estate Agent, here's the deal. I would love for you to make a ton of verbal offers for us. Here's our formula. Here's our very specific, write this down, buying criteria. This is a part of our business model. So I teach agents our buying criteria so that they can go out and make a bunch of offers for me on my behalf verbally and see what hits. This is how we're able to make 100 offers a day without even doing anything, right? Because I'm training a small little army of agents in my city this formula so that they can go out there and be my scout, right? They can find these deals. My wife is really good at this too. Again, if you're new, practice, 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 practice. If you're experienced real estate investor on this call, teach people this. I see too many people bash folks that maybe someone posts a deal on like a Facebook group and they say, hey, here's an opportunity, it's a wholesale deal. And then if it's not like a deal, if it's not a good deal, I see a lot of people that'll be like, you don't know what you're doing, your numbers are off, you stink, you suck. And the person's like, geez, I'm just trying to make $1 and feed my family. Why are you being mean to me? What my wife does, kudos to her, is she actually will reach out to that person and say, hey, great job on, finding deals. And do you have a 5 minutes where I can actually teach you kind of like what we look for and how we run our numbers? And then that person is so grateful that someone took the time to coach them up a little bit. And then they go out and they start finding deals for you. Okay. So if you're brand new, start practicing. If you're a lender, start going through Private Money Club. Does this make sense? Does this make sense? Is this a good deal? If you're experienced, start teaching other people how to do this, right? And using these tools. So I'm going to share something with you here. I think I got, here's a great example. So this week I actually shot a video teaching this formula. And so now instead of going out and having conversations or phone calls and I shot a 10-minute video and I posted on Facebook. And so far this video that I did has over 100 people that have viewed it. So now I've got 100 people that understand my formula, and now they're out there looking for houses, right? I'm in the back of their minds, right? So I'm going to teach this to you and really kind of dive in deep here, because I have a question here that, hey, Noah, why 70%? Why 70%? And that's a great question. And I actually am going to break that down for you. All right, cool. We got 92 people on the call and climbing. I love it. Great job, guys. Great job. So one of the things that we got to figure out and to take into consideration is the other 30%, right? So if we went back to the formula here and we times our ARV by 70%. And lots of times people are like, well, Noah, why did you times it by 70%? What does 70% have to do with anything? It's not so much the 70% that we care about, it's the 30% that we care about. And then the 30% is going to be our costs. It's going to be our fees to the agents. It's going to be holding costs. So go ahead and write these things down. So number one, right out of the gate, what do we have to take into consideration? We have to take into consideration, number one, our agent fees, you guys, right? What do you pay your agent? 6%, right? So I would subtract 6% from the 30%. What else is there? So we got agent fees, we've got buying costs. So when we go and we buy the properties, maybe there's, buying costs that are associated with that. When selling costs, prepping the deed for sale, things like that. Holding costs make up that part of that 30% that's missing there. What could be a holding cost? It could be utilities. It could be if the house has a pool, taking care of the pool. It could be if the house has a really nice yard, making sure that that yard is taken care of. Yeah, David said it, holding costs, right? So, hey, thanks, Dominic, for the love. Phenomenal. Love it. All of these things, holding costs. Another thing that we're going to take into consideration that's a part of that 30% is financing costs. Hello, you as the lender got to make sure that there's enough meat on this bone that you're getting paid, right? So what are the financing costs going to be? That could be, I could easily pay on a deal like this $12,000 in interest to my lender, right? And so that might be, what's that? 4%. So 4% of that 30 might be the financing costs. I could also be, check this one out, price reduction. It could be a price reduction. So we're taking that into account. If I'm listing a house for sale for $300,000, and let's say I'm not getting the type of action that I would have hoped for, but someone comes along and offers me $285, and I say, how about we meet in the middle? Let's do $291. That's it. I'll take that deal all day, every day. Even though my house is listed at $300, I'd gladly move the property at $291 because I'm in the business of doing more than one. I'm doing volume, right? So those are things that we're kind of taking into consideration here, right? That nobody thinks about. Price reductions. What if you're paying closing costs? Right now, in a lot of my lower price point homes, like first-time home buyer properties, we're paying a little bit of the closing costs to help buyers buy our houses, right? So are you considering that on the front end? So I think if we added all of these things up, like, property taxes, right? Things like that. If we're adding all of these things up, 15, 16, 17% of that missing 30%, right? I'm looking at that 300,000 times 70%. Noah, why do you do 70%? It's not the 70% about, it's the other 30 that's missing, right? And of that 30%, more than half of that is going in costs, fees, paying my agents, paying my lenders. So we really got to take that into consideration when we're evaluating these deals. Okay, so if those costs are 15% of that missing 30, now we're at 80. No, what's the other 15%? That's our profit, right? So we got to make sure that we're getting paid, right? As the real estate investor, and lenders, we got to make sure that you're getting paid as the lender too. Is there enough meat on this bone so like that if something happens, your money's safe? So I'll give you an example. I get this question a lot, and I'm sure many of you might be thinking it. I promise you, your lenders are going to be thinking about this. Okay, so here's the deal. Noah, what happens if the market dips? Noah, what happens if you can't sell this house for $300,000? How do you think you would answer that? How would you guys answer that question? What happens if the market dips? How would you answer that question? What happens if you can't sell this house for $300,000? How would you answer that question? Anybody want to try in the chat? How would you answer that? Renting it and holding it, keeping it as a rental, rent, refi, short term? Okay. I love it. I love it. Good answers. Thanks for the participation. Great job, guys. Here, if this is a house I wanted to flip, yeah, David had to have a party. David said, my lender gets paid first, then me. My lender, love it, David. Great job. Accelerator student in the house. My lender gets paid first, then me. All right, so we have a very specific buying criteria when it comes to all of this. So what do we say if someone says to me, hey, no, what happens if the market dips? What happens if the market, what if you can't sell this house? When we're looking at this formula, the ARV formula, what I'm focusing on is there's actually a 15% roughly buffer in this formula. 15% of the 300,000 is my profit. So Mr. and Mrs. Lender, here's what I tell you. If for some reason I can't pay you, for some reason the house sits longer than we estimated, here's the great news. You get paid first. You get your initial loan amount back. If I don't make any money on this deal, then so be it. That's on me, you guys. So what's 15% of 300,000? 15% of 300,000, 45,000. So I'm in a position, because I bought right from the start, that if I had to do a $45,000 price drop, and that means I don't make any money, then so be it. That's what we have to do, right? But that, Mr. and Mrs. Lender, that's how we take care of our lenders and make sure that they get paid, right? You guys following me here? So you're starting to see why this formula is really important, right? All right, let's answer some questions here. And I love how some of you guys are like, hey, let's keep it as a rental. We could keep it as a rental, so on and so forth. That's a great idea. So one of the things that, as you're evaluating deals as a lender, maybe you start asking yourself, okay, backup scenario, what would this property rent for? Right? Is this in an area where it could make a great rental? So it's good to have kind of that plan A and plan B. And it's good as a borrower to say, hey, if we don't sell for 300, the great news is I've got $45,000 in potential profits that we would make on this deal. We would just do a price drop to help get the property sold. Or also, Mr. and Mrs. Lender, what's awesome is this place, it can rent for, $3,000 a month. We feel really good about that based off of other rents. I think we're going to be okay, right? On the back end, we could put a renter in there, and we'll talk about the options with the loan, right? So it's good to have some different things in place, but here's something really important to talk about, and then I'll get to the Q&A, okay? So is this helping? Is this good? Is this good to discuss this type of thing? Are you guys getting value out of this? Say, oh yeah, if you are. Let me know if you have any questions. Post them now. I'm going to get to the questions. All right, cool. So one of the things I really like to see my accelerator students do, and you guys, and anyone for that matter, especially in Private Money Club, why did Chris and Steven ask me to do this for Private Money Club? So we can up the level of education in the club, so we're making good decisions, right? And we're elevating our game. We're stepping up. We're not just looking at deals. We understand what we're looking at when we're looking at opportunities to lend or borrow. Okay. So here's what's important. Trust but verify, right? Write that down. Trust but verify. I'm really big on inspect what you expect. Inspect what you expect. Trust and verify. So if you see a deal out there, and we're doing this back of the napkin analysis, and you're thinking, okay, this could be something. Step 2 is to research it and to get proof. So if you see a deal on Private Money Club or out in your community, let's double check and make sure that these numbers are what they are, right? Because it's very easy for someone to say, hey, you know what? I'll sell this for 300 when actually they're probably more, should be around 280. It's easy for someone to say repair costs are 50,000 when if they actually did the deal, it ends up at 65,000, right? And now you just lowered your price, your sales price, you just upped your cost. What's happening to the margin? Shrinking. Okay. So how do we do these things? How do we, inspect what we expect? So for the after repair value, we're going to want the person that's presenting this deal to us to provide proof. We're going to want to look at one or two things. Number one, comparable sales, right? And this is done through a real estate agent, through a real estate broker. I wouldn't trust just going to Zillow or realtor.com and seeing what's for sale nearby the house. I would pick up the phone, I'd call a real estate agent and say, hey, I'm looking at a property. Here's the address. If a property like this was all fixed up in beautiful HGTV style, what do you think it could sell for? Can you send me some comparable sales of rehab houses in this neighborhood on this street? That's a good way to do it. And number two, a good old-fashioned appraisal. I don't think there's anything wrong with lenders asking for appraisals to verify that what's being presented to them is accurate. The banks make you do it, right? So there's nothing wrong with that, right? So there's two ways you can do that. Number one, at a bare minimum, you've got to have good comparable sales. Number two, it's okay to ask for an appraisal if you're just unsure. All right. So that's how we inspect what we expect with the after repair value. We inspect what we expect with the repair costs. So this is a two-step process, right? So lenders, if this is good insight for you guys. So you're going to ask for one of two things. Number one is going to be a repair estimate, right? A repair estimate. And number two is a scope of work. So here's kind of the timeline that real estate investors go through so you know what to ask. As if a real estate investor is looking at purchasing a property, they go out, they inspect the property, they may have an iPad, they may have a clipboard, something like that. They may have a system that they're using to estimate the repairs, right? And so when they go through and they check the boxes, how many windows, how many doors, how many doorknobs, does the roof need to be replaced, what's going on? And they come up with a general ballpark of what it's going to cost to make all of these upgrades, right? That's a repair estimate. Lots of times once someone has a property under contract, they have the repair estimate, then they're going to start shopping, trying to find a lender to fund this deal. So if it's early on in the timeline, as lenders, I would start asking, hey, do you have a repair estimate? Don't just, as borrowers, don't just say, I think the repair costs are going to be this. Prove it. Okay, prove it. Have proof, right? Have a plan. Show them your plan. Okay. Further along the timeline, we're going to take that estimate and start building a scope of work, which is going to be ironed out with our contractors or our subs. So they're going to be hard quotes, prices. We have a firm grasp on how much each of these repair items are going to cost. And the closer you get to the closing date, the more solid the scope of work should be on a fix and flip property, right? So at a minimum, lenders ask for the repair costs, ask for the repair estimates, and kind of see if they match up, right? Is that good insight? You guys like this stuff? And then purchase price. Hey, don't you think it's a good idea to verify that the person you're lending to, they actually bought the property for what they're buying the property for? I don't see enough people doing this. One of the things that I would recommend is having them send you, if you're a lender, have the borrower send you a copy of the purchase and sale agreement to purchase that house for that price, right? So I feel like, guys, this is a good foundation for us to feel like we're making smart, intelligent lending decisions, right? And I'm sharing this with you guys, 84 people on the call right now, which is fantastic. Everyone who watches the replay, fantastic. I think this is going to add a ton of value and insight into your borrowing and lending experience. If you're in Private Money Club, tonight, Thursday night, is our Thursday night coaching call. It's a 2-hour coaching call. Maybe Jose and Joel can put some links in there. If you're not a premier member of Private Money Club, I would do that today. Go from free to premier so that you can be on that coaching call that's tonight. It's going to be really, really good. We actually have an underwriter that's going to be on there, and they're going to be underwriting one of my deals. So they're going to put me through the ringer and ask me all the tough questions and make me talk about the deal. So if you're a free member right now of Private Money Club, go join Premier. Like, click the links, whatever Joel has them posted in there. Say, I want to be on that call. I want 2 hours of underwriting training with an actual deal, an actual investor. I think it's going to be awesome. If you're a Premier member already, great. You're going to love it. Check it out. But I'm telling you guys, this is going to be really cool. That's tonight. I forgot about that. That's tonight at 6 o'clock Eastern time. It's our Private Money Club 2-hour coaching session. Okay. So was this good stuff? I've got some moves for you guys to make. Okay. So I taught you this formula. I'd like for you to pick one thing on this list to do at a minimum, right? If you do 2, 3, 4, 5, you do all of them, bonus points. But let's pick one thing so we can continue to learn and we can continue to build momentum. Number one, let's practice explaining the fundamentals, right? What are the fundamentals? Well, when we borrow money, we provide a mortgage, prom note, list you on the insurance as a loss payee, personal guarantee, right? Let's practice saying that so it becomes natural. If you're a lender, we love lending money at fair interest rates. Here's the deal. We want to make sure that we are provided a promissory note, a mortgage, or deed of trust, insurance, personal guarantee, right? Let's start getting that as a habit. Practice the formula. The ARV times 70% gives us a certain amount. You subtract the repair costs. That's what investors should be paying for their properties. You can use that to run through back of a napkin analysis in Private Money Club or out in the marketplace. That's up to you, but practice that. If you aren't Private Money Club yet, what are you doing? Let's go. Join the club. They got a free option where you can come in, check it out. The guys give you a demo. Take advantage of it. If you're serious about raising money, if you're serious about borrowing money, if you're serious about putting your money to work, this is the best position in. I don't know how. I had one of my best friends came over today, and his name's Jake. He's trying to like get lenders. He's going from agent to investor, and I was like, dude, you have to be in this club. Like, I don't know, you're gonna waste all this time having conversations with all these random people that don't even know what private money lending is. Get in the club. Well, I got it. They got so many cool ways to do it now. Just hop on a call with the team. All right, it's all good. Accelerator coaching. So we are doing a new accelerator coaching session that starts March 11th. So if you're like, man, this stuff is awesome, I want to learn this as fast as possible, as much as possible, that's for you. Right, that's for you. If you want to have access to me on more one-on-one type of setting, that's part of the accelerator program. We got 2 amazing events coming up: the virtual event March 1st through the 3rd, and the Money Tank summer flagship, the flagship event for Private Money Club. So that's out in Salt Lake City. So was this a good call, guys? Make a move. I can't wait to see you next week. I will get the internet fixed, but you guys did great. You hung in there. I'm really proud of everyone. Action. So right now, everyone just get your phone out and say, hey, Siri, can you remind me to be on Noah's call next Thursday with the Private Money Club at 1 p.m.? Done. See how easy that is? It's so easy. It's so easy, right? So just pick one, guys. I'm telling you, keep the momentum going. If you have any questions at all, let me know. Hop on the calendar with the guys too, and they can assist you with everything. But it's 2 o'clock. You guys are awesome. Enjoy the rest of your week. And I hope you find a lot of money, and I hope you find great people to lend money to. All right, so I'm signing off. Oh, I'm gonna hang out. I got some questions here. If you guys sign off. I'm gonna answer some of these questions in the Q&A. So hang tight. If you want to stick around, cool. If I'm taking money out of my whole life policy as a policy loan, that takes a bit of time for it to get into my bank account. What's the typical turnaround time for a borrower needs the money to make the deal happen? Hey, that's great. That's a great question. I hope you're still on this. Nathan, great question, my man. It doesn't take, if someone's rushing you to do a real estate deal, let me tell you, Nathan, that's their fault. Okay? So as you start having conversations with people, here's what I would recommend to you, Nathan. I would start reaching out to people in Private Money Club, interview them, see if you like them, see if you think that you like their business model and you believe that they are going to be good people to lend to and their deals make sense and all of that. If you feel really good about it, just let them know what your deal is. Hey, look, it's going to take me a few days to get everything in order. That's no problem, right? Shouldn't be a problem, because how this is going to work, if a person has a property under contract, a real estate investor that needs funding, right? A fast closing, I don't know, 10 days. Like for me, as a real estate investor, you probably see the signs and the advertisements that are like, we buy houses fast, we close quickly, things like that. That's definitely a feature that we present to sellers because it means that they're going to get rid of their headache house quick and they're going to get money quick. But there's still a process for like title searches, make sure that the property is free of other liens and encumbrances. And so while some people think that this can happen really fast, I would say 10 days is like more than reasonable to ask to help a lender become prepared. Now, if there's a situation, Nathan, where someone had money lined up, they're set to close, and then the person, for whatever reason, that was supposed to lend on the deal backed out, stuff like that could happen, right? But if someone's doing their job as a real estate investor, once they have a property under contract, they should be reaching out to you. And you guys, this is why I stress so heavily on building relationships in advance, right? When's the best time to find a great borrower? Before your money's ready to be put to work. When's the best time to find a great lender? Before you have a deal. How is that going to happen if you're not having conversations in advance, right? So Private Money Club, get on there, start meeting people, attend the live events, become familiar with the names, right? And start building those relationships, okay? So 10 days, right? Otherwise just tell them to take a hike. How do you get good at estimating repair costs? Practice, practice, practice. How do you get good at repair costs? So in my marketplace, and I can't speak for everywhere, but I have a rule of thumb. So if a property is just fluff and buff, paint, carpet, whatever, I'm usually going to run like $20 a square foot to get that property ready to sell. So if it's just paint, carpet, cleaning, maybe some light landscaping, $20 a square foot. If the property needs a lot of work, right, and good size rehab, maybe we're ripping out vanities and things like that, updating some of the bathrooms and all of this, I might go $40 a square foot. $40 a square foot. If the property is like break down to the studs and every single mechanism within the house is getting replaced, then it might be $60, $65 a square foot is my estimate, right? Just to kind of feel out the deal. Okay, so 20, 40, 60, depending on how much work you're going to put. The house that I'm going to be presenting tonight to our underwriting team in our Private Money Club coaching webinar it was a $250,000 renovation. So it was a really, that was down to the studs, everything new, right? So it can vary, 20, 40, 60, times it by the square foot. That's a good way to do it. Do you get an appraisal done? From my experience, currently, I don't unless I'm unfamiliar with the area or the type of property. So let's just say, for the longest time, here's the question: do you get appraisals done? Sometimes it just depends if I feel confident in myself or not. If I don't feel confident, then I'm going to hire someone because here's what's good about appraisals, Kevin. Eventually, this house is going to get appraised. So you want to know what that appraiser is thinking. Are they thinking that it's going to be what you think? Or are they going to be like, oh, this is definitely not worth this amount, right? So sometimes I get appraisals done just to know what an appraiser might think and put myself in their shoes before I do a deal or before I figure out how much or what I'm going to put into a property. Makes sense, right? So it just depends. If you're not super confident in yourself, do the appraisal. So here's a great question from David and Dorothy, two of my favorites. So the ARV percentage is the price the lender gets paid, not on the reduced amount. House was reduced and didn't sell. ARV percentage. Yeah, I would, when I'm doing my calculations and I was kind of going through like 1% of this, 6% of this, I'm in my mind, when I'm initially analyzing a deal, it's going to be, I'm basing those percentages off of the ARV of what I think it is, right? And the example we used in this call was 300, right? Can you get an ARV appraisal? Yeah, you can. I think ARV comps are also really good. I think a really good real estate agent can say, hey, look, this house right here is 2 doors down from this house. This house had a new roof, new windows, new HV system, was completely renovated. This is the square footage, and they should be able to kind of give you an idea of what your house could be. So start with the real estate agent, but if it feels funky, something doesn't feel right, it's okay to get an appraisal. Do they get an inspection report that may have estimated repair costs? So inspection reports don't oftentimes have repair costs. Sometimes they do if it's like a termite company and the termite company is saying, hey, this is all screwed up, but we can fix it. Here's our price, right? That happens a lot. So sometimes you might have that, but most of the time the inspection report is just what's wrong with the property. Where to look in PMC for commercial projects? Yeah, lots of single family stuff. Mike, if you're looking for commercial projects to lend or borrow on, I would make a post in the public forum that's your niche. I think you'd get a lot of people excited about that. As a lender, great question from Neil Bacon out of San Diego, avid scuba diver. You mentioned as a lender we should check for insurance if they haven't closed on the property yet. What should they be showing us? That's a great question. So once you have your lender set up an insurance policy, it's going to be right on the second or third page. It's going to say their information there, and they're going to be listed as the mortgagee or loss paid. Their information is going to be on there, and you can send that right over to your lender. So that's why you got to do this in advance. So prior to closing, if you're the borrower, you want to make sure your lender's set up. You're gonna let them know, hey, I'm gonna get you set up on the insurance. You got to call the insurance company, right? Maybe 5-7 days in advance, and say, hey, I got a new house I'm buying. There's going to be a mortgage. Here's that person's information, and they'll put it right on there for you. You can go over to them. So that's a great question, Neil. All right, cool. All right, 63 people on the call, learning. I love it. Learning, networking, and growing. So that's awesome, guys. All right, I'm going to sign off. I hope to see you guys next week. Make a move. Pick something to do, to stay active, to elevate your game, to upgrade your education. I'm telling you, this is what it's all about. All right, learning, networking, and growing. Joel, can you put the link in there for them one more time so they know exactly how to get a hold of you if they're interested in making moves with you guys? All right, cool. There it is. All right, you got it. You're welcome, Bonnie. You guys have a great day. And my wife just brought me a half of a Celsius. I think after this call, I need one. All right, thanks, Ben. All right, have a great day, everyone. I'll see you next week.